A night in the abandoned hospital that changed my life forever. I still wake up drenched in sweat, haunted by what I saw that night. It started as a dare. Spend one night in the old St. Vincent Hospital, a place abandoned for decades, shrouded in terrifying rumors. They said patients never really left, that their screams still echoed through the empty halls. I didn't believe it until I stepped inside. The air was thick, heavy with something unseen. My flashlight flickered as whispers crawled through the darkness. Then I saw it, a figure, standing at the end of the corridor, watching me. My blood ran cold as it took a step forward. What happened next changed my life forever. Want to hear the full story? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Only on Terrifying Tales of America. The Dare. It all started with a stupid dare. We had just finished another long week of college classes, and my friends and I were hanging out at Ryan's place, drinking, playing video games, and talking about urban legends in our town. That's when Danny, the biggest troublemaker in our group, leaned forward with that signature smirk on his face. "All right, I've got a challenge," he said, swirling his beer can. "Who's brave enough to spend the night in West Haven Hospital?" Silence. No one spoke for a few seconds. We all knew about West Haven. The place had been abandoned for over 20 years after a terrible fire wiped out an entire floor. Rumors said the patients weren't evacuated in time, and that some never truly left. People claimed to hear screams from inside. Some swore they saw shadows moving past the broken windows. Others said if you stayed too long, you wouldn't come out the same. I rolled my eyes. "Come on, Danny. That place is just old and creepy, not haunted." Danny grinned. "Oh yeah? Then prove it." He pulled out his phone and turned the screen toward us. "One night. No leaving before sunrise. Film everything. And if you survive..." He paused for effect. "I'll give you $500. Ryan whistled. "Damn, that's a lot of money just to crash in a busted-up hospital." Lena, the most sensible one in our group, crossed her arms. "And if something happens..." Danny shrugged. "Then we have a crazy story to tell." That's how I ended up standing in front of West Haven Hospital at 11:47 p.m., armed with nothing but a flashlight, a backpack, and my phone set to record. The others stayed behind. This was my challenge. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, entering the darkness. The front doors were chained shut, but I had already found a way in. Around the side of the building, one of the basement windows was broken. With a little effort, I slid through, landing on the dusty floor below. I clicked on my flashlight. The basement smelled damp and rotten, like something had been left to decay for years. The air was thick, almost too heavy, as if the building itself didn't want me there. I took out my phone and started recording. "All right, guys," I whispered, my voice barely steady. "It's almost midnight, and I just got inside. The place already feels off." The basement was full of old hospital equipment covered in sheets, rusted wheelchairs, broken floor stands, cabinets filled with empty medicine bottles. Then I saw them, bloody handprints. They trailed along the wall, leading toward an old metal door. I swallowed hard. "It's just graffiti," I told myself. "Just some kids messing around." But when I touched one of the handprints, the blood was still wet. The first sign. I didn't want to stay in the basement any longer. There was a stairwell at the far end, leading up to the main floors. The moment I started climbing, I heard it. A soft shuffle behind me. I spun around, shining my light down the dark hallway. Nothing. I shook it off and kept moving, my heart pounding with each step. The first floor was eerily quiet. Moonlight shone through the shattered windows, casting strange shadows on the walls. Old hospital beds lined the hallway, some still covered in thin, rotting sheets. I walked past a nurse's station, where dusty patient files were scattered across the desk. I picked one up. Name, Dr. Samuel Rhodes. Status, deceased, do not move body. My stomach twisted. I flipped to another file. Name, Patient 237. Status, missing. Last seen October 12th, 2001. I flipped through more. Every file had something wrong. Patients vanishing. Doctors dying mysteriously. Rooms being sealed off with no explanation. Then I noticed something even stranger. The files ended abruptly on October 13th, 2001, the same night of the hospital fire. It was like everything in this place stopped existing after that night. I took out my phone and recorded the documents. Something weird happened here. It's like they were covering something up. That's when the PA system crackled to life. A distorted voice whispered through the speakers. "You shouldn't be here." The lights flickered, and a loud crash came from somewhere down the hall. I wasn't alone. The watcher. I turned off my flashlight and crouched behind the nurse's desk, holding my breath. The air grew colder, and a low hum filled the hallway. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming toward me. I peeked over the desk. Down the hallway, standing in the shadows, was a tall figure. At first, I thought it was a patient's shadow, cast by the moonlight. But then it moved in a way it shouldn't have, like it was gliding instead of walking. I gripped my phone tighter. The figure tilted its head, as if it knew I was watching. Then, in an instant, it rushed toward me. I scrambled back, knocking over a chair. My phone screen glitched with static, and the hallway warped around me. The air felt thick, suffocating, like something was pulling me into the dark. I forced my legs to move and bolted down the hallway. The hospital was waking up, and it didn't want me to leave. Deeper into the darkness, I ran. The air burned in my lungs as I sprinted down the dark hallway, the static-filled whispers growing louder behind me. My flashlight flickered, my phone screen glitching. The entire hospital felt like it was shifting, as if the walls were moving, closing in. I didn't dare look back. I turned a corner and slammed into a set of double doors. Without thinking, I shoved them open and stumbled inside. The moment the doors closed behind me, the whispers stopped. Silence. I stood there, gasping for breath, my heart hammering in my chest. Then I turned my flashlight back on, and that's when I realized I wasn't in the hallway anymore. The room was different. I had stepped into what looked like an old operating theater. The walls were lined with rusted surgical tools, and in the center of the room stood a single operating table, covered in dark stains. The air was thick with the smell of rotting flesh. I swallowed hard and raised my phone to record. I don't know how, but I swear this room wasn't here before. My voice was barely above a whisper. It's like the hospital is changing. As I stepped forward, my foot brushed against something soft. I looked down and nearly screamed. A body bag. No, not just one. Dozens, lined up against the walls, stacked on top of each other. Some were partially unzipped, revealing glimpses of decayed flesh and empty eye sockets staring back at me. I gagged, covering my mouth. What the hell was this place? Then, a body bag near the operating table twitched. I froze. It moved again, slow, subtle, like something inside was trying to get out. A muffled sound rose from inside, scratching. My breath hitched. My instinct screamed at me to run, but I couldn't move. The zipper of the bag began sliding down on its own, and then I saw it. A hand, gray, rotting, fingers bent at unnatural angles. It reached for me. That was enough. I turned and bolted for the doors, but the moment I grabbed the handle, a hand grabbed my ankle. I looked down. A corpse, one of the bodies from the bags, had crawled halfway out, its jaw hanging loose, its empty eyes fixed on me. It whispered one word, "Stay." I kicked it hard and yanked the door open, racing out of the room. But when I turned back, the operating theater was gone, just an empty hallway, as if it had never existed. My mind reeled. Was I hallucinating? Was the hospital playing tricks on me? Then my phone screen glitched violently. and through the static, for just a brief second, I saw something staring back at me. A face, pale, hollow-eyed, standing right behind me. I didn't scream. I didn't breathe. I just ran. The unmarked room. I don't know how long I ran before I found myself in front of an unmarked door. It looked different from the others, newer, as if someone had replaced it recently. There was no dust on the handle, and unlike the rest of the hospital, the door was locked. Something about it sent a shiver down my spine. Then, without warning, bang, something slammed into the door from the other side. I stumbled back, my heart leaping to my throat. Then, again, bang, bang, and then a voice, low, desperate, "Help me." I stared at the door, frozen. Then, suddenly, a key slid out from under the door. I felt a wave of nausea. I should not open that door. Every part of my brain screamed at me to leave it alone. But my hands moved on their own. I picked up the key, slid it into the lock, turned it. The door creaked open, and inside, there was nothing, just an empty room. No furniture, no windows, just a single chair in the center. And sitting in that chair was me, the psychiatric ward. I stood frozen, staring at myself sitting in that chair. It wasn't a reflection. It wasn't a trick of the light. It was me. The same hoodie, the same jeans, even the same horrified expression. The other me slowly lifted his head. "You shouldn't be here." His voice was raspy, distant, like it was being whispered from somewhere else. I took a shaky step back, and then the lights flickered violently. My phone screen glitched, flashing images too fast to comprehend. Hospital records, blurry faces, something crawling on the ceiling. Then, darkness. I wasn't in the room anymore. I was standing in a long, white hallway. The walls were lined with padded doors, each one with a small window, covered in deep scratch marks. I turned slowly. The hall stretched endlessly, fading into shadows. The psychiatric ward, a place where patients weren't treated. They were hidden, locked away, forgotten. A sharp whisper filled the air. "Help me." It was coming from behind one of the doors. I hesitated. My mind screamed, "Don't open it." But my body moved on its own. My fingers trembled as I reached for the rusted handle. The second I touched it, the door burst open. A hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. I screamed, yanking away, stumbling backward. From the shadows of the cell, a figure crawled out, thin, malnourished, bones pressing through gray skin, hollow, black eyes. It wasn't human anymore. It had been forgotten too long. It lunged at me. I ran. The hallway warped around me, stretching, twisting. The doors slamming open on their own. Figures spilled out. Patients long dead, their bodies rotting, their whispers growing louder. "Help us. Save us. Take my place." I sprinted, but the corridor had no end, no exit. Then, a door. A single, rusted door at the end of the hall. I didn't think. I threw myself into it, and fell through. The truth. I woke up on the operating table, strapped down. Lights blinded me. My own voice echoed around the room. A recording. Patient 237. Severe hallucinations. Unstable memory. Unable to accept reality. I thrashed against the restraints. No, this isn't real. The lights flickered, and they appeared. Figures in blood-stained hospital gowns, all standing around the table, watching. Then I saw him, the man from the hallway, the one who chased me. Only now I recognized his face, because it was mine. And suddenly, it all came back. I wasn't a visitor to this hospital. I was a patient. I had never left, never escaping. I screamed, thrashing, but the straps held tight. The other me leaned over the table, his hollow eyes burning into mine. "You kept running from the truth. But you can't run anymore. I struggled, heart pounding. He leaned closer and whispered, "You were the doctor. You caused all of this." Memories crashed down. The fire, the patients left behind, the experiments. I was the one who had locked them away. I was the one who had trapped their souls here. And now, they wanted me to stay. I screamed as the lights exploded into darkness. And then, silence. I woke up in the hospital hallway, alone. My phone was gone. My flashlight was dead. And when I turned, I saw myself standing at the end of the hallway, smiling, waiting. I ran, but the doors wouldn't open because there was no way out. There had never been, and there never would be, because now I was just another ghost of West Haven Hospital, and I would be trapped here forever. Fire, what did you think of the story? Skull, would you survive a night in West Haven Hospital? Eyes, what horror story should I write next? Comment below. Fearful face Fire.